we've already looked at the history of the periodic table and how it got to be as it is today. We looked at the modern version of the periodic table, and what we're going to do now is we're going to start looking at specific features of a couple of different groups. The ones we're going to look at are group 1 and group 7, and the transition elements as well. But for this video we're looking at group 1 and some of the features of this group of elements. Now, it's actually unfortunately just a lot of memory work, but the key things that you have to know about group 1 is that they are all low density. In fact, the first three, lithium, sodium and potassium, all actually float on water because they are less dense than water. They react with non-metals to form ionic compounds. We've looked at this before in previous videos, but all of these metals will produce an ion that has a +1 charge. So lithium will produce an ion that has a +1 charge, and sodium, and so on and so forth, and they can react with other non-metals to form ionic compounds, something we've looked at in detail before. They react with water to release hydrogen, and that hydrogen sometimes can catch fire if the metal is reactive enough. The next thing is that they form hydroxides. So lithium will form lithium hydroxide that will dissolve in water to give an alkaline solution. So if you actually drop some lithium in some water and test the water by adding pH indicator or universal indicator, you'll see that it's an alkaline solution. The next thing is that further down the group you go, the more reactive the element and the lower the melting and boiling point. Now this is quite an interesting thing to look at, the fact that they are more reactive. You may have actually seen these demonstrated in class, and if you look, if we put some lithium in water, first thing you notice is that it floats because it's got a low density, but you might also see it fizzing around and actually moving around the surface of the water as it fizzes and slowly reacts with the water. Now we said the more reactive, the further down you go, the more reactive. So if we look at the next element, sodium, you'll actually find it's got a slightly more violent or vigorous reaction. This actually can catch fire. It actually produces a bit of a purple flame, and again that zips around and moves around the surface of the water with its flame there. The next one down, the further down you go, again you see a much more violent reaction. You actually see bits maybe flying off and sparkling and cackling and crackling as you put it in the water, and really beyond potassium you can't really demonstrate that in the classroom because the reactions for rubidium and cesium are much too violent. They are actually explosive, and francium over here is so reactive and violent, it's actually a radioactive element as well. There is no way anyone's going to be able to get their hands on this legally to demonstrate that. Now just to have a look at these two, in fact, rubidium and cesium, I've put a link in the description of the video to a Brainiac video that actually shows rubidium and cesium being put in a bathtub, and you can actually see how explosive these elements are. So just click on that link to see those two reactions. It's quite a lot of fun to watch those. But other than that, just remember these are the key features of the group 1 metals. One thing I forgot to mention is that they are called the alkali metals, and hopefully you haven't already shot off to watch those explosions before you remember this last little point.